Hello, hello, and it's welcome to Thoughtful Little Time Bombs from me and Shadow. This is Shadow. This is me, obviously. You're most welcome. Thoughtful Little Time Bombs. All I'm going to do is throw ideas at you. They may make sense to you now. They may make sense to you at a future date. That's when the time bomb goes off. Your unconscious is always looking for ideas, and it's always storing them. And it will throw them at you inappropriately. You feel at times about 2 o'clock in the morning on a bad day, and it offers you a solution. And sometimes we just got to be smart enough to realise it is a solution and take advantage of it. Okay, so thank you. If this is your first visit, thank you so very much for turning up, and I hope you'll be intrigued enough to listen to the end. And if you're returning, I'm deeply grateful to you for reinvesting your time listening to me. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Thank you for turning up once again, and if an idea strikes you as being useful to you now, or maybe you think it will be useful to you at a future date, then feel free to subscribe, to like, and to share. You're most welcome. Right, Shadow and I were discussing this. Something is only important when it's important. Until that point, when it's not important, it has no meaning whatsoever. So if you've got an idea, a dream, something you want to realise, until you've done it, until you've achieved it, then it has no value whatsoever. So therefore it's important that we engage with whatever thoughts that we have, and that we avoid certain situations or groups that work against us. And thinking in terms of cancelling membership or unsubscribing from the Bad News Club, the I'm a Victim Club, or I'm a Loser Club. And it's important to do this because the influences of the people who are around us can cripple us in the same way as they can support us and push us towards achieving astonishing things. But generally, if you're a member of the Mona Society and you look at the people around you and you find yourself not controlled by your own expectations in all the efforts that you make, but controlled by the anticipation, the expectation of other people, then clearly it's time to do something about it. The language that we use to discuss ideas says a lot about us. If it's positive language that we're using, then we are likely to achieve things. But if it's language that involves blame and saying that we don't stand a chance and such, then you will never ever achieve anything. So you may be in a group because that is you, or you may be in a group quite simply because you don't want to be alone. And people fear being alone more than anything. And maybe in this age, it's a bit of an epidemic created by social media and such. But being isolated, being on your own, allows you time to think. And time is vitally important. Time is so precious. It's the most precious thing in the world. You ask somebody nearing the end of their life, or somebody with not enough time in their day to work hard enough to achieve what they want to achieve. So your own expectations are far more important than the expectations of other people most times. So if we're in a group where the language is negative and somebody else is to blame, then we will never achieve anything. We have to take responsibility for all things that don't work. We can't always blame other people, because if we place ourselves in a situation where something is going to go wrong, then either we've got to accept responsibility for that and do something about it, or blame it on somebody else. The situation is simple. If we want to achieve anything, we've got to make sure that the language we're using reinforces positive outcome, doesn't reinforce cowardice or moaning. Other people do this, and these people generally, let me tell you something, I've met with people like this, and I've been sort of touched briefly at groups like this. You just look, gather around the table with mugs and cups of tea or whatever, and you feel deflated. Doesn't matter what idea you put forward, you feel deflated straight away. You notice that people could do with a shave, could do with a bit of a wash. You know what they've had for lunch or breakfast, because you can see evidence of it on their t-shirts or on their shoes. Sometime soon they're going to do something. They have plans. But as long as they need to overcome challenges created for them by other people. Whereas we know that the greatest challenges are, here we go, settle down. The greatest challenges are those we set ourselves with timidity, with fear, with anxiety. But if we adopt a thinking style that is honest, that is objective, that is critical, as in critical thinking, then we've got a chance of achieving enormous things. But we have to be smart in how we move forward. You'll be surprised also how hard certain people, maybe yourself, work hard to disappoint yourself, i.e. not working objectively, not working in a way that is bringing you closer to achieving something, an outcome that you want. We can work incredibly hard, but take the energy in the wrong place. We've got to be very objective in how we do things. And in order to achieve things, again, I'm reinforcing the same message again this week, which is you've got to overcome inertia. Inertia is when you're just stuck in a seat and the gravity of the whole planet is holding you there. In the same way as you can take a wagon which is about 2 miles long and weighs 1,000,000 tons. These things exist there apparently, and you wish to transport whatever goods, coal, iron ore, whatever, from oil from one part of the country to another, then you have to overcome inertia. Inertia is the weight is vertical on the wheel, and you have to get the wheel to move one way or another, away from the vertical and the energy that you can then use to roll the wheel. This is done quite simply by banging the rail carriages from the back and pulling it forward at the front, and then knocking it back from the front and pulling it back. This way you just move the wheel from vertically, where all the weight is pressed down on the earth. You start moving it that way. And that's it. And once you've got any kind of movement, you pull and you push and you get the train moving ahead. Wagons. It's the same with it. It's the same with ideas. It's the same with moving towards achieve things. We've got to do something, do anything. And as I've said before, you've just got to generate momentum. If you want to go that way, then you've got to begin somewhere. If you're a member of the victim society, then one thing you've got to do, if you do really want to change your future, the way forward, is to do simple things. Like I noticed years and years, decades back, when I used to be a member of the PAP club for a very short period of time, might I add, I get up at 10 and then can't understand why I wasn't achieving anything. So simply put, what you do is you get up at 8 instead of 10. You make yourself a cup of tea, make it one of the flasks if you see it earlier, and you get out and you get sun in your eyes. That finishes the process of waking up. If you wake up and you go and straight watch the television with a strong cup of coffee, then your day will never start. It never will start. And you've just got to overcome that one by just going outside and have a flask of tea, anything really. And then make a list. Make a simple list of things that you want to do for that day. It doesn't matter what they are. The idea is moving from vertical 1,000,000 tons to moving forward, backwards. It doesn't matter what you do. One of the most important things you can do is adjust your environment. It's simple. If you've got dishes and crockery and cutlery in the sink, wash it. Simply, just wash it. Just wash it, dry it, keep it, and wipe down the surface. Change your bedclothes. Is the t-shirt you're wearing the one you've been wearing for a couple of days, like your mates around the three sugar cups of teas? Is it that one? What about your shoes? Do they have evidence of your breakfast? Basically, change your t-shirt every day, wash, shave, and then look in the mirror and notice the difference between you and the rest of the people in the club. And also, it worries me when the only stimulation, intellectual stimulation that people get in their lives is putting 3 sugars in their tea. It's not good for you. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for diabetes, type 2 diabetes, which seems to be on the rise at the moment. So adjust your behaviour slightly, and you'll find yourself looking different from the crowd you're with. And then you've got to ask yourself a question. My God, in order to go back to being a member of that crowd without hoping not to offend people by the fact that you've actually washed, is you got to become dirty again, become slovenly again. The mess in your house, the the new habits of not leaving the rubbish of one day available for you to have a look at the second day. In other words, when you go to bed, wash the cup, the glass of wine, whatever it is that tidy up the seats, make sure the books are, if you've been reading a book or whatever else you've been doing, make sure you don't bring it through to the next day, so you start the day with a clear deck, literally. So simple things to do. Change your bedclothes. Maybe you need new clothes, maybe you need new t-shirt. Something that when you look in the mirror, you notice is different. And next time you sit with these people, you notice that you're so different. And all you've done is those basic things, and yet you've moved ahead. And you probably end up with being resented by them. But the thing is, you've got to ask yourself, do you want to be with them? The company keep says a lot about you. And you in a clean t-shirt and clean trainers and shaved and combed your hair and such represents a better hope of achieving things than 3 sugars in a tea and haven't combed, haven't really washed. He's got this sweaty, grimy face and such. So, does anybody benefit from you being inert? Yes, they do. Employers do. Employers, if you happen to be particularly skilled but inert because of reasons of could be emotional reasons, could be depression, could be just plain laziness. But if you have ambitions, you want to achieve them, then you've got to overcome inertia, because what will happen is that people will take advantage of you. And the more talented you are, you'll be giving away your talent for next to nothing. It happens. That's the way of it. As I said, critical thinking, objective thinking, absolute honesty thinking. Look at your situation and do not be self-delusional. Just look at your situation and certainly start being objective, start thinking, is the way I'm living my life achieving anything? Am I gonna die without having achieved anything in my life? Admit fault, admit errors, and thereby just changing your thinking style. That way you can achieve great things, because then you start looking at your life in all aspects of it. But you've got to start asking those questions and being not self-delusional that it is somebody else's fault. Even if it is somebody else's fault, the question to ask is, why have you let that happen to you? Okay, and then, best thing to do, either have an argument, either pick a fight, or just leave, get another job. Because if that is the case, then you have talent. Okay, so, I've told you before about a guy I know who I will avoid him at all costs if I see him in the supermarket. I'm like a ninja, running from aisle to aisle, keeping an eye, hiding in the toilet, you name it, what, to avoid this person. You can have a conversation with people like this about what's called quantum entanglement, where if I touch this electron of an electron pair, push it, then 50 yards that way, on Mars, on the other end of the galaxy, it will respond immediately. Which is intriguing, because it tells you that in order for that to respond that quickly in Mars or wherever, it means that a message has been passed faster than the speed of light. And as Einstein said, proved that there's nothing faster than the speed of light. Then he looked at his equations again and he found quantum entanglement in his own equations. And he didn't believe that it was true. Niels Bohr believed that it was true. That message can be sent faster than the speed of light, and not proved to be a paradox within the theory. I'll leave that on there. I know that. I just know that one to start a conversation. I've got a clue how to finish that conversation. You can have that conversation about how the Planck Institute proved that it was true, that Einstein was correct. And this amazing, this intriguing thing that Einstein found, it just turns your head inside out once. Go and look at it. Quantum entanglement. It is astonishing. You can have a conversation and talk about the magic of physics, how wonderful the universe, how intriguing, and the fact that things like that occur. It's not because it's weird, it's because our definition of the universe isn't specific enough, and we've got so much to learn. I can guarantee within about 3 minutes of that conversation, 2 minutes possibly, you'll be listening in to him talking about why he left last job and why he hated working there and where the system was corrupt and why people were getting ahead because of who they knew and not why he didn't get on. Well, he didn't get on because he was a difficult person to get on with. And he left in the end, and I think his psychology was, you'll miss me when I'm dead. In other words, you will not manage without me. You'll find a massive gap in work. It didn't happen. It did not happen. I think that's the reason why resentment was there. And I ended up being with somebody in an aisle in a supermarket, and the language getting fruity from this other person, embarrassingly bad. And as I said, complete keep says a lot about you. He said, you'll miss me when I'm dead. They didn't. Other people just took on the role. And they functioned much better because of him not being there. So you'll miss me when I'm dead. No. And anyway, in a funeral, if you think that, if you were to die and people would miss you desperately, maybe in the funeral people would be there listening to the vicar and talking about the good things you were good at, etc. And you think, yeah, maybe we lost an opportunity there. We should have made friends. He was a difficult person. She was a difficult person. But we should have made an effort. And it's a lost opportunity. And life is so brief, and it's not rehearsal. And we blew it there, really. We should have maybe made a bit of an effort, and the person should have applied the same kind of psychology and maybe made the same effort. And then you say, that's it, that's the thinking. Then they say, are we going for a pint? You're going to watch football on Saturday. The United got a terrible forward. I need new shoes. Did you see the colour of this, that, and the other? So conversations moved on. And I've said before in the past that we only last one generation. Once we're in the cemetery, we only last one generation. That's it. Your children, your kids, your siblings, whatever. They put flowers there on your birthday, on the day you died, and probably at Easter and Christmas, depending on your faith. And so nobody give me. So you'll miss me when I'm dead. If that is, and think objectively about this, and you may well have that as part of your psychology. Being aware of these things is a major step towards doing something about them, because you're aware when they arise, and then they get embarrassing, and you think, okay, why do I keep doing this? And I'm going to stop doing this. And you've got to do things like adopt new thoughts. And the good thing about thinking is you can only have one thought at a time. And if you've got a tendency of declining into depressive thoughts, self-damaging thoughts, self-esteem destroying thoughts, then it's important to know that you can only think of one thing at a time. And I would suggest that you have a look at something that worked enormously well for Tina Turner and for countless people across the world when she has overcoming the trauma from being married to Ike Turner and being beaten up and having her life turned upside down. And that was, and I'm not religious or wibbly wobbly kind of recommendation. Whoops, speaking. It's called, let me think now, Buddhist chanting. It's called Buddhist chanting. Buddhist chanting is quite straightforward. You just have a verse, and it's in another language, and it has rhythm, and it balances, and it makes sense. You have no idea what it means, but what you do is repeat it flat out. You repeat it flat out for about, baby? He's not well. I mentioned it before. So you do that. You just engage with those 20 for about 20 minutes, flat out saying this thing. You want to figure out? Bear with me a moment. God, do I regret opening that door? Because they're flying in the military base next to us, and we quite a racket for a while. Doors open so he can come in and out. As I say, he's unwell, and we're deeply worried about him. But he's a mate, and we look forward to seeing him, and we take care of him all the time. As I said, repeat the mantra flat out. You can't think of anything else, and it's surprising. It's the same with transcendental meditation. We take a word and we repeat it again and 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 again. You can only think of one thought at a time. The word has no meaning for you apart from the meditation when it's a single word, like in TM. But if it's with the Buddhist chanting, then it's flat out and you can't do anything. And the wonderful thing is, while the thinking part of your brain is occupied listening to this, trying to make sense of it, and just repeating it, you are recharging your spiritual batteries. It's a fact. it's a fact. It will recharge. You'll be feeling energized afterwards. If you manage to escape into a transcendental state for a minute, for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, miraculously, then it will change your life. Test it, it works, So, yeah, this is why I regret opening the door to let the cat out, but I have to because he's unwell. They're flying, They are Texas T2s, propeller, and they sound like Stukas. Right, yeah, people who disappoint you. Once you go back to these groups and you look at them, you will perceive the people who were major parts in your major components of your life when you were with the three sugars in a cup of tea brigade. One thing you will notice, and it's strange, and obviously it's not real, but it's perceived as real, is that the people will look shorter. They will physically look shorter. They will look smaller. People who disappoint you always end up looking smaller. And you'll just be walking around, or you will be in a workplace, and you look at a person and they're smaller. And you're not being spiteful. It's just that they've gone down in your estimation such a degree that they look smaller. Do lists as much as you possibly can and tick them off. Don't have too many things on your list for a day. A handful of them, maybe. Things you can achieve. So you don't feel a sense of, damn, didn't do it, and have to add it to tomorrow, so there's 6 items to do tomorrow. 4, 5 items, do them. And it could be something as basic as getting cat food, going to the vet, cleaning your car, whatever. Just doing these things. You've got to do them. Get into habits of doing things. Yeah, evolve. Evolve is an interesting one. It's an amusing one, in fact. Ways of explaining how life was created. It's the primeval soup. There's no soup bowl, there's no saucepan, there's no microwave, or anything involved. You get a load of chemicals. Some of them are amino acids, important for life, and a load of chemicals, whatever they are. I haven't got a clue what they are. And they're in a bowl, and then nature or God or an entity, or whatever, a bit of lightning into it, and you got a chemical reaction, and life started. Something like that. It gives the idea. It's a very simplified way of suggesting how things work. It's the same in any chemical reaction. A plus B will give you a result, C. Okay, but for A and B to react together to give you C, which is change of color, maybe an explosion or a gas or a new chemical, you have to apply energy, and it's generally in the form of heat. If you remember your experiments from school. And it's the same with us. We have almost all the skills we need, and those skills that we don't have, we have the skills to go and find them, to research them. We must remember that all we have to do is apply that activation energy, and that activation energy generally is commitment, being fed up and wanting to achieve things, fed up of blaming others. Because the thing is, if you're blaming others and you're thinking this way in general, you will feel false every time you're blaming somebody else, because you know, in heart of hearts, it's you. Here comes a jet, here comes an aeroplane. There's a chimney, the noise comes down the chimney. And finally, and this is an important one. Is that one? Yeah. This is an important one. Never take rubbish from it from one day into the next. Resolve it. Don't take if they tell you don't take an argument into the bedroom, resolve it before, or have a word and say, this isn't good for us, let's put it to one side and maybe have a word about it in the future, whatever. But don't take arguments to bed. Also, don't leave the house in a mess when you go to bed. Tidy everything up, clear surfaces, and when you get up in the next morning, all your energy is going in moving forward and not in cleaning the sink. Okay. I hope there's something in there that has value for you. If it has, then, or you think it will have, then if you'd be kind enough to tick the like, click the like, and to subscribe, and also to share. That's like, subscribe, and share. Share us know well. So he's gone outside. I'm going to look for him. So I think it's going to be a bit of meal bonding tonight. I'll have a glass of wine and he'll have a cuddle, which is cats like. You take care, be well, prosper. And as I say, seriously look at the company you're with. If you can see the last meal or you can smell the last meal or the last 5 meals on the company you're keeping, or they're smoking too much, or they're adding too much sugar in tea, and you have dreams, and you don't want to die having not achieved any of them, then evolve. Take care. Nice to see you. Bye.